Hi, welcome to another episode of Mom Does It All. If you're looking for encouragement, empowerment, and uplifting in motherhood and mompreneurship, this is a show for you. I'm your host, Marta Spurk, triplet mom, certified success coach, and all things motivation extraordinaire. In this episode, I'll be talking about my experiences speaking in local events and also the 3 mistakes I believe I've made as a mom and how you can avoid them using my Find Your Happy free guide. Let's get right to it. Hold up. First, I need to announce this week's giveaway on the Mom Does It All podcast. I've partnered up with Tina Williams from Essentially Traveling to give one of you up to $100 rebate on any domestic flight in the continental U.S. Here's a message from Tina herself.
Great afternoon, everyone. I'm Tina Williams, CEO of Essentially Traveling. You can find me on Facebook at Essentially Traveling. I'm so honored to be a part of this giveaway. And I just want to say good luck to each of you. And I'll need your name and address from the winner, and I will get this sent right out.
Last week, I had the opportunity of speaking at 2 local events to share about my business and my journey, and I just love it. It's total confirmation that this is what I'm supposed to be doing, that I just feel really in my element when I am in front of people, talking and encouraging and just telling my story and just seeing people's eyes that they're resonating with what I'm saying, even men. And all of this has been a huge connection of my past with my present, with being in church. And when one of the events that I went, which was a different location for the 1 million cups that I presented for last month, I believe. I did it in Boulder, and now I did it in Fort Collins. And one of the ladies that was there, she's a speaking coach, and she wanted to connect with me after the presentation and told me she wanted me to help. She wanted to help me with my speaking and for my events. How amazing is that? Like, everything happens for a reason, right? And she actually specializes in helping women in the STEM field. And that was very interesting because she brought to light something to me that I wasn't fully paying attention to. But like I always tell you guys, everything happens for a reason, and everything is, comes up and crosses your path for a reason. So you have to be aware and attentive to these signs and to these things. And she said, of course, there's a lot of science behind what you're doing. And I have been doing more research in terms of postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, stay-at-home mom depression, and even on how our brain works and our emotions, our thoughts having a huge play on our reality and the patterns in our brain waves and everything. And she said, I'm sure there's lots of science in what you're doing, and I could definitely help you prepare your speeches and things like that. And that confirmed what I had already thought about. I had seen many people, many coaches talking about this doctor called Joe Dispenza. And I'd been wanting to read on his stuff. I had seen quotes and it really resonated with me, but I hadn't really gone there. So I bought his book on Amazon. It's supposed to be here in the next couple days. And the name of the book is Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, How to Lose Your Mind and Create a New One. And I even told Shane, my husband, that we need to read it together because he's so rational and logical and analytical. He doesn't really understand or, for the most part, jive with all the emotional and inner work stuff that I talk about, but he understands math and science. Like, he loves that. And that's what I've been finding with everything that I'm doing. The connection between science and spirituality, and going back to my past and all the years I spent studying the Bible, it's just different beliefs, different paths that end up leading the same way, that you create your life, that your outside is a product of your inside. And so I am so excited to start reading this book, to start bringing more of this content for you guys. And it all happened because I went to that event and it was amazing. I love it. The second event that I had was just a small get-together with Brazilian mompreneurs. It was super intimate, but it was such a great conversation. We shared our stories, we cried, we laughed, we made new friends and strengthened bonds with the women that I already knew. And it was, again, confirmation of how I love encouraging and helping moms. And even the sweet mama that was there that I met for the first time said that she has had this vision for a while now of creating a YouTube channel with a talk show with moms to create this community and support and touch on hard topics that people just don't talk about, and moms just feel isolated and just feel this guilt. And I told her, I am in. I will be a part of your YouTube channel and your talk show, because this is exactly what I'm doing with the podcast already. Talking about these hard topics, bringing women on to talk about their reality so that other women that are listening can relate to them. And I would love to expand this message to the Brazilian community, to the Portuguese-speaking community, and reach even more people that otherwise wouldn't listen to my message on the podcast. And with everything that I have been creating and sharing with you guys lately, especially after I released that free guide last week, I wanted to talk more about the things that I wish I had done differently, or the mistakes I've made and what I've learned from them after I became a mom. And it's a bit of a reflection on my journey and how this free guide and my upcoming program can help you navigate motherhood through this process of self-reflection and self-discovery, which, by the way, quick detour here, my absolute best friend from high school back in Brazil, Carol, has been listening to the show. I needed to do a little shout out here because she's amazing. She always texts me after she's done with the episodes, and she's like, I love this one, and comments. And she's even a mom. So this is why I wanted to say this. Of course, she's a huge supporter because she's my friend. But she wrote me just the other day and said, I really believe that every woman, more so than men, has this need to discover themselves and their identity. And she definitely has felt this, even without, getting married or having children, that we feel this need to get to know ourselves, and sometimes that could even get in the way of being in relationships, or sometimes relationships fail because we don't quite know what we want. I mean, women are complicated. We know that, right? We have just different emotions, and we're hardwired differently. And then she said, I can totally relate to everything. And I was so happy that she said that, because I want women in general to resonate with this message. And I'm just super happy that, because this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. I want to reach all the women and help you see how amazing you are, regardless of if you're married, if you have kids. But of course, being a mom complicates things a tad more, and this is the universe I'm in now. So this is the experience that I'm sharing. But lucky you, if you don't have kids yet, or if you're not married yet, you're lucky to be wanting to go through this process and doing all of this even before, because it's probably going to make your postpartum journey a lot easier to navigate, because you're already consciously wanting to become self-aware. And that's huge. So congrats to you. And to all the moms that are listening anyways, because I feel like it's a huge win to really want to take that time for yourself. I mean, the fact that you're listening to this podcast right now shows that you understand that it's not selfish to do something for yourself. And this is, a huge part of my message. And so when I was, reflecting on my journey, and even on the guide that I did, on the program that I want to launch pretty soon here, I started thinking about the things that I wish I had done differently, and the things that I started changing because I realized what I was doing before wasn't working. And I even decided to do an event online on Facebook and advertised it so that people can go and join the Mom Does It All community and listen to me talk live. But I also want to share it here on the podcast, because it's never too many platforms to share the message, whichever you prefer listening to. And the very first thing that I didn't do, that I started very soon, but I know that many moms don't do, is getting to know themselves. So taking that time to be by yourself and to do things for yourself allows you to get to know yourself. And one of the very first things that I always talk about that will help you do that is taking the Enneagram test. And there are several different personality tests out there, but this is the one that I feel like has allowed me to know myself so much better. And of course, sitting down, journaling, doing practices that are just you and you, so that you can get in touch with your thoughts and your feelings, and actually have something prompt you to think about what you're thinking. Because if nobody asks, you're probably not going to think about it. And that's where the whole process of self-awareness starts. So one mistake that I made was not being in touch with who I am. And I can say that I was making this mistake up until the point that I became a mom. It wasn't even just as a mom. It's what I always say. We don't take the time to get to know ourselves. And the only reason why we envy others or that we feel dissatisfied with who we are or that we are unhappy is because we're not confident in who you are. And you can only be confident in who you are if you know who you are. So then you can appreciate who you are, right? And be grateful. So it starts with getting to know yourself. And then the next step, of course, is that gratitude and the confidence. So first mistake, not knowing who you are. If you don't have a clear sense of where you want to go or where you want to be or what you like, if you're just always looking to others to tell you what to do and to even tell you what is allowed, to even tell you what you like, then you don't really know yourself. And it's a really scary place to live and to be in when you depend on others to, dictate your identity and to dictate your tastes. That's not something you want to pass on to your kids because you want to teach them to do this themselves, right? But if you don't do it yourself, then you can't set that example. So again, it's selfish and it's not selfish. It's actually very selfless of you to know who you are so that you can teach your kids to know themselves, right? Instead of telling them who to be, because that's not what we want, right? And then the second mistake I've made as a mom is depending on external validation. And I've talked about this several times, but now I'm just grouping everything, all my brain dumps and all my rants and really understanding the patterns that I have gone through in this journey. And depending so much on other people's approvals has put me on a path of misery, has put me on a path of unhappiness because you're always expecting something that will never arrive. That's terrible, right? Waiting for something that will never happen is awful. It's a waste of life. And that's not to say that people are not going to validate you or compliment you, but there's always something within you, that hole, that void, looking for that approval, that even when people approve of you, it's not enough. And that's because you have not approved of yourself yet. So it doesn't matter how many compliments you get. It doesn't matter, whatever people do to show that they're grateful for you. You are not going to be completely whole and full until you appreciate you. And how do you do that? You have to go back and look at the things that you've already accomplished and look at your life. So again, the self-reflection moment, and look at your life and see all the amazing things you have already done. All the talents that you already have, that you were born with, that essence that I've been talking about lately in all my interviews, how I've been noticing, with my kids growing, they're 3, born the same day, but they're so different and they already have an essence to them. They already have a personality, they already have talents, and they already have tastes. So do you and I. We have these things that we were born with, and throughout life, these things were, there were layers and layers imposed upon us because that's just how life is. But I have had this awakening moment as I became a mom that made me realize, hold on a second, who am I? And then I started digging into this. And that's why I was saying, look at you. If you're not a mom and you're already going through this process, this is amazing. So this isn't just for moms. This is for anyone, right? But my people are moms right now. But if you're not a mom and you resonate with this, thank you so much for listening. And so the moment you realize you don't have to be doing anything to please other people, that's where you are truly, fully happy with who you are. And first you have to know yourself, right? And then as you start appreciating who you are, then you get that confidence. So first, it all starts with gratitude. And this is what I've said before, how I love doing my gratitude journal, but I also love doing my brag book, which is something that I've learned from one of my mentors. Because usually when you're doing your gratitude, you're not in that list. It's other people, it's things that you have, right? But when you do a brag book, you are in all the items because it's you doing those things. Oh, I did the laundry and I put it away. I am going to brag about that. It doesn't have to be anything too crazy or too big. I mean, that's a victory for me for sure. And I know for many moms too, because sometimes the clothes stay in the washer for more than they should. Sometimes they stay in the dryer for way a lot longer than they should. Sometimes they stay in the hamper and then you have to put them away. So it's a process. So definitely brag about that when you do it. Or anything. I mean, if you had a degree, or for me, I survived triplet pregnancy. Sometimes I don't even understand how that was possible. Just the other day, I actually did an interpreting job. I went to a doctor's appointment, and it was for a pregnant woman. I didn't even realize when I walked in there because she was wearing a big sweater, and I couldn't tell that she was pregnant. And then we walked in the room, and the doctor was asking her, "Oh, so you're 36 weeks?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is so exciting." And then they did the ultrasound, and I was interpreting everything and seeing the baby, and I thought, this is crazy that I had 3 kids in there, that I went through this whole process. Like, I am amazing. So brag about it to yourself. It doesn't even have to be to people, but that builds confidence. So that's mistake number 2. You expecting compliments from other people. And I mentioned this in another episode, a quote that I found that was just amazing that said, see your beauty without a compliment, without a mirror. You don't need to see yourself in the mirror to think that you're pretty. Or you know what I mean? Or you don't even need someone to tell you to think that. You just have to think it because you know it. Okay? And it all starts with knowing yourself. So first mistake, you don't know yourself. Second mistake, you don't appreciate yourself. So you have to know yourself to appreciate yourself. And the very last mistake that I made and that I see so many moms making too is not setting goals for themselves, because it's all about the milestones of the kids. It's all about the milestones of the baby and the family. What about you? Where do you see yourself next year? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Are you just letting the kid activities or the family activities dictate your future? Where are you in this life, in this whole story, right? In your family story, what are you doing? And that's not to say that if you're not, building a multi-million-dollar business that you're not accomplishing anything, because everyone has different goals. So this is the point with everything that I've been doing and saying, is that people have different goals, and that's okay, but they have to have goals. Otherwise, you are not living, you're just existing. And again, this is something to set an example for your kids, right? What do you want them to learn from you? Of course, you want them to learn love and nurture and, taking care of them, but how about how you position yourself in life, mom? Are they going to learn confidence from you, right? That you love who you are and that you appreciate who you are, because those are the things that they're going to learn about themselves. But if you don't know that, you can teach them that. And then they're going to go all through their lives on this journey to finding themselves, when if you go through this journey yourself, you will have several things to teach them. And of course, they're still going to have to go through this journey anyways, but you're going to have the tools. You're going to be able to facilitate that for them. And in essence, this is what I'm doing for you now, and this is what I want to do for so many more women out there and for my kids as well, especially my Gloria, because, girl power. Anyways, but yeah, no, I want to teach my boys confidence too, because, even learning from my husband, I didn't have brothers. I wasn't around boys very much at all, because it was just me and my sister. And learning from him, with him growing up with a brother and, being a man, there are different challenges that men face with their bodies and with confidence and everything like that. And so, of course, men need this too. Everybody needs this too. But again, you're a mom or you're a woman and you're listening to me, and this is who I'm talking to. So these are the 3 mistakes, and that I want to encourage you to look and see, are you really leaving this in the back burner, knowing yourself, being proud of yourself? Are you seeking for people's approval? And this is another thing too that I said on a live the other day, that when you look at someone and you think you are less than them, that's because you're not confident in who you are. When you look at someone and you think you're better than them, that's because you're not confident in who you are. That's where jealousy comes from, right? Because you're not confident in who you are. It all comes from inside. It's a crazy thing, but everything is a reflection of your thoughts. And I'm so excited to start reading this book, because it's insane how everything that you do is in a pattern. But you can't break a pattern until you understand what the pattern even is. And that's why this process of self-discovery is so important. So don't make the mistake of not knowing yourself. Don't make the mistake of not appreciating who you are. And don't make the mistake of not looking into your future and setting goals for yourself. And how do you set goals for yourself? This is another thing that's on my free guide. You're going to have to go download because I have several different ideas for you to start pinpointing different things, create a list. It's really, really helpful. It's kind of like a little workbook. You can, write things down and start this journey on your own with these tools so that you're setting yourself up for success and for happiness, right? Because ultimately, isn't that why we are here? We're not here to live miserably. We're here to enjoy life and to learn, right? So I'm so excited about this guide. If you haven't downloaded it yet, you can just go to martasburke.coach/free guide. You can find it on my banners on Facebook or on my bio on Instagram. And I am so grateful that you joined me today yet again. As usual, I hope this was so helpful for you to reflect on what you're doing right now with your life and potentially start taking a different path, learn from my mistakes. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to join the Mom Does It All community if you haven't already, and leave us a review and a rating here on iTunes. I so appreciate you. Have a great rest of your week. Until next time, bye!